Just waiting for the audio, waiting for the video, as always. So let's see what's going on. Okay. And, is it here? Is it happening? Not yet. Come on, YouTube. It's been 30 seconds. I'm thinking something. Ah, here we go. Video is on. Is the audio here? Yes, it is. 'Tis the Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore on this lovely, amazing Sunday morning. I've got my cup of coffee here with me, and I also have a couple of wafer cookies, which I don't know if I'll eat or not, but please do join me. It's going to be a lot of fun. Truly a lot of fun. So, coming in hot, real Jack Matt. Hello, have you read the book of Derech Hashem? What is your opinion of it? Have you read it? So yes, I have. I told him in the chat I came across it. So Derech Hashem was written by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. He was born in Spain in the, I wasn't sure, I just looked it up. I wasn't sure if it was the 17th or 18th century. It was early 18th century. And now look, Ramchal went through a ton of controversy in his day. He was excommunicated. He had to flee to Amsterdam. All of his writings were burned by people who went against him, who thought, look, we're talking about a time where, because of the Ari, because of Shabtai Tzvi, because of Hasidism, because of all these things that were going on, 400, 500 years ago, the Jewish world was in some ways in turmoil. People didn't know what was going on, and you had a lot of controversy, a lot of strife, obviously of a different sort. It's still ongoing, but of a different sort at the time. And so somebody like Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who was a writer, who was a playwright, who was a poet, who was a Kabbalist, who was a thinker, who was a philosopher, he was somebody who was not easily accepted. And like I said, his writings were burned. He was excommunicated. People said you shouldn't have nothing to do with that guy. Only later in life, and sometimes posthumously, were his writings, or maybe nothing happened after his death, and he was all the way accepted before his death. I don't particularly recall. The point is, he went through a lot of crap. And Derech Hashem is a book that I came across, right? The Way of God in Hebrew. It's a book I came across, one of the first books I came across when I was in Yeshiva, right? So I finished high school, I went to Yeshiva, I was there from 17 till 20, or 18 till 20. Then I joined the army, and then after the army, another year of Yeshiva, right? Yeshiva means basically higher studies, higher religious studies. And it's one of the first books I came across. It was one of the first classes that we had in Yeshiva. And I, from the beginning, knew that I loved that book. The way that Ramchal writes, right? Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto is a writer. And the way that he writes, he wasn't just a scholar, right? He wasn't just a rabbi. He wasn't just a sage. He wasn't just a Kabbalist. He was really, really good at what he did. And he was able to convey certain things and break them down. He's not the first to do it, of course, but he did it in his particular way, and it is so awesome. And I still go back to that book. It has a few things that I reference regularly. For instance, when people ask me about dreams, I always reference what he had to say about dreams. Okay. So yes, I immediately loved it. And Real Jack, what are your thoughts? Oh, he says, I've read it a dozen times and pray I can follow this path. Good for you, man, to follow the way of God, right? Isn't that what we're doing? Aren't we all trying to walk with God? People might have different interpretations of how that might be manifested and what it means. You follow this, you follow that, these commandments, those commandments. But eventually, I think that if you read that book and certain things are, called to you and certain things are you feel drawn towards, that you should go and explore them further in other books. Because the book of Derech Hashem basically lays out life as a Hebrew man or woman, and how you ought to think in the sense of, here is the way that the Torah teaches, not necessarily what you ought to think, but he basically clarifies philosophically, right? He breaks it down into really the details of what's what about this world and other worlds, and the way of worshiping God, and why is the Torah, and why the commandments, and why the prayers. And he says it in a clear and concise, or maybe sometimes not as concise, right, language where there's a need to elaborate. He definitely does elaborate. Are you high? No, I'm not high. No, I'm high on God, I'm high on life, I'm high on this cup of coffee. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. How do you take your coffee, people? Mine has been black for many years now. Just black, no cream, no sugar. Nora is not my real name, says, yo, can I ask an off-the-topic question? Hey, this is all about off the topic, I mean, there is a topic to the channel, but it's all off the topic, really. So, Real Jack Matt, I really hope that you'll be able to follow the path that you are setting out for yourself. Walking with God in that way of God is no small thing, and I really hope you can do it. Wow, just turn yourself in, says 911 officer. For what? What have I done? Beyblade says, ooh, Beyblade, wow, I mean, back when I was working in Toys R Us, like almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago, Beyblades were a big thing. I'm not Jewish, but I've learned about the religion certainly, and it's pretty cool. Yes, look, as a religion goes, as like a man-made organized religion goes, Judaism has a ton of great things about it, and like any organized religion, some negative things about it. However, seeing as how it all goes back to the 5 books of Moses, it really is a very cool thing, because many other religions would agree that the 5 books of Moses have a lot to offer the world. And some would say in the way of destruction and negativity, but of course, both of those things exist in the Torah. It all depends on what you're looking at. Come on, man, I'm your #1 fan. Okay, go for it. Nora, what is your question? Bro, don't do cracks. All right, I will not do cracks. Judaism is not man-made, says Stark. Well, look, the origins are divine in nature because, right, we know that Moses, the father of the prophets, received divine revelation, the assembly at Sinai, but definitely Judaism, as far as Judaism, the religion of the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, right, is indeed man-made. It's also man-made technically in the sense that Halakha, rabbinic law, is something that evolves, and lo b'shamayim hi. It is not up in the sky. It is not across the great sea. It's in our hearts and in our mouths. And in that sense, it literally is man-made with every passing day and with every passing generation. You can prove Judaism is not man-made. Okay, by all means, go for it. The Torah was given in front of millions. Yes, nobody's disputing that, Stark. I agree that the Torah was given in front of millions. That's spirituality, and that's the connection, and that's what was given to Moses by the divine. And Moses, right? Moses to Joshua, Joshua to the prophets to the elders, or the other way around, and so on and so forth. Nobody's disputing that on my end. What I'm saying is that as far as the traditions are concerned, as far as the oral law is concerned, it literally is man-made. That's part of what it is. So yes, expanded on. Look, now we're dealing with semantics. Now we're dealing with semantics. Who is it that expanded on it? Man-made men and women. So we're kind of saying the same thing. I definitely agree that there was a revelation at Sinai, there was an assembly at Sinai in front of millions. The entire nation of Israel heard a revelation of God's voice speak, at the very least, the first 2 commandments of the 10 commandments. So yeah. Happy New Year from New Zealand. Hey, Kiwi, how you doing, my man? When you say from your mouth, what's your thoughts on the practice of Metzitza B'Peh? Look, this comes up every time. I'm not going to address it every time. If you want, see my previously published works. But I'm not going to address it every single time. Your autism is so inspiring. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. I don't know. I was never properly diagnosed. I think I might be, if not on the spectrum, I'm definitely on many different spectrums. I don't know if the autism spectrum is one of them, but yeah, maybe. You're right, says Stark, but semantics is what faith is about. You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe definitely you're right. Maybe definitely. All I'm saying is that there are elements of the Hebrew faith that are divine in origin as far as we're concerned, and there are elements of the Hebrew faith that are man-made and that are man-generated, men and women, once again. And this is how it's supposed to be. The written law and the oral law, right? They both came down together, at least to some degree. Changes were made and so on and so forth, but it's definitely... That's why we're made in the image of God, right? People, human beings, and the Hebrew faith has its own particular way. I'm a goy, how can I become Jewish, says Adelise. Well, talk to your nearest master or rabbi, or ask a Hillel, right? What did Hillel say to the convert in the Second Temple era? He said, what is, what you hate, don't do unto your fellow. That is the entire Torah, and the rest is its commentary. Go and learn it. That's what I'm going to tell you as well. Take a bath. Cleanliness is godliness. I do take baths. Well, you know what? I love baths. In the current house that we live in, there is no bath. We have a couple of showers, but no bath, and I miss it. I used to love to go draw a hot bath, dim the lights, put some incense, put some music on. Oh, it was great. But now I haven't taken a bath in a very long time. I take showers, and it's not the same thing. The shower is a lot more utilitarian. It's a lot more in and out, and sure, you've got the water on top of you and it's the pressure, but there's something about a bath, climbing into a bath and laying back. Oh, it's so, I can't unwind as much in a shower as I do in a bath. And I do miss baths. I really do. I truly, truly do miss baths. Your people are why we're homeless. I don't know who we is, American Swede, but okay, if you say so. I don't know. What's your people and who is homeless? What do you think of black Hebrew Israelites, says Sai Lamy. Well, look, I haven't spoken to one ever personally, so I can't give you the account of what I think of them. I know that some of them are highly militant, and I am not a militant Hebrew man, and they claim, at least in part, to be the real Jews. I don't know what a real Jew is. If you take on the Torah, if you take on the covenant, right, and you perform the commandments, and you forsake your pagan gods and forsake your pagan ways, you are de facto a Jew. Or if you're born biologically to a Jewish mother nowadays, or before the time of Ezra the scribe, to a Jewish father. So I don't know what this real Jew business is. What do I think of them? I think that I think that the militant ones need to chill out with the real fake talk because it doesn't benefit anybody, in my estimation. But, pardon me, as far as, look, what it comes down to is, I know a lot of them worship Yeshua, Jesus. So then the question becomes, do you believe that Jesus is a God incarnate? If you do, you're not a Hebrew man because that goes against the Hebrew Torah. Right? Like fundamentally goes against the Hebrew Torah. But if you think that he was a Messiah, that's cool. If you think this or that he was a good man, a righteous man, whatever, even that he was resurrected, because there is a precedent in the Bible for that. Otherwise, no. I think that that it's all right. But again, the militant aspect of the black Hebrew Israelites, I don't quite jive with it. I don't really get it. I don't understand it. But I have not researched it enough. Ban this retard, Nora. Okay, yeah, you could ban me if you want, I guess. I'm not sure. Hey, Matthew is back in the house. Howdy, he says, I know you mostly enjoy this open Q&A format, but would you consider talking about specific topics as a specialized stream? You could still monitor topics and answer Q&As at major. Well, look, before the Q&As became a thing and before live streaming came a thing, I made hundreds of videos on separate topics, on different topics. So you can feel free to check out the old archive of my old channel and the previous live streams and videos of this channel. And I don't know, I mean, the Q&A is something I enjoy doing because it's live and it's raw and it's off the cuff. Maybe I'll go back to doing specialized videos. Maybe I'll leave live streaming altogether, though I don't see that happening, and focus just on like recorded, edited videos, though I enjoy this a lot more than anything. Are your Rastas due to your faith? Says Frank. Asks Frank. Hi, Frank. Well, yeah, the Nazarite man or woman grow their hair wild, and this is wild hair. It's just natural dreadlocks. I didn't make a single twist. I didn't make a single knot. I didn't crochet anything. It just grows like that. That's how it goes. That's literally what's going on here. Just subbed. The Q&A is phenomenal. Thanks, Stark. I appreciate that. Look, having a Q&A off the cuff, spontaneous, it's a lot more alive. You understand? It's a lot more alive than having like a recorded, edited video with an intro and with an outro and with music and with, I don't know what, a text on the screen. I don't know. I enjoy this format a lot more. It's a lot more enlivening, and it's in the moment, right? There's something magical about broadcasting live. There really, truly is. Those dreads represent knowledge, says Sai Lamy. Well, look, hair is just hair. You don't have to be knowledgeable in order to grow your hair. For me, personally, they represent the covenant of Nazariteship between me and the Most High God. It's an external symbol of a spiritual covenant that I made. So they mean a lot to me, but I know that it's just hair. It's just dead hair, and it's going to die with the rest of me whenever I die. Can you give me advice about saving money, says Card Collector. Yeah, live below your means. That's literally how you save money. You live below your means. That's it. That's all you need to do. I guess it's just up to us to ask the right questions, says Matthew. I suppose. I suppose it is. The more I read and digest the Old Testament, the more I respect the Jewish faith, says Kiwi. and come to see, as Jesus is steeped in his Jewish teachings and culture, the Psalms in particular are so moving. Yes, people sometimes, I suppose, forget that Yeshua, Jesus, was a Hebrew man who went with the Hebrew Torah. He had his difference of opinions with the different sects at the time, and rightly so. But definitely, he was just a Hebrew man doing his Hebrew thing, which is why I don't mind saying that if I was around at the time, I probably would have followed him around Jerusalem as well. Because, why not? He seems to be a good guy, a stand-up guy, a humble guy, a virtuous guy, and it doesn't really matter to me what Christians think of him. It really doesn't. I don't consider him anything other than a dead, righteous Hebrew man. That's all. That's where it ends for me. For other people think that he's some God incarnate, and that's all well and good. They can think whatever they want, but I just don't feel that. I definitely prefer live, he says. Okay. You would have definitely followed Yeshua. Yeah, it's likely. The guy had a lot of smart things to say. I loved his parables. I loved the way that he spoke to the people. I love it when people accused him of stuff or made statements of stuff, and he said, "You said that, not me." That's really putting the onus on the other guy, right? It's like, "Oh yeah, I guess it was me who said it and not him." And whenever people put words in my mouth or have any presumptions or assumptions about how I'm living my life, what I am, what this channel is, or what I'm doing, it's all a reflection and a projection of truly what is going on inside of them. So I see that as very, very telling. And if he was and if he, when reading the gospel is a lot of fun. I did it once and I really enjoyed it, and I'm probably going to do that again. The rest of it, as I said, didn't speak to me, but the gospel certainly spoke to me. And whenever he did that a few times, if I'm not mistaken, where somebody said something and he said, "You said it, not me," something along those lines. Gross, get off my feed, says Spaz. Hey, Spasmaticus, you're the one who actually took time out of your day to comment that. So what does that mean? How long have you been Jewish? Ever since birth, Don. I've been Jewish since birth. Cow says, "Are you dodging my questions?" No, the chat is moving at a very rapid pace. I can't answer every single question. I used to, mind you, when a lot less people were in the chat. If you were here, a couple of months ago, I would have been able to definitely go line by line, and I did. If you look at my previous live streams, I went line by line, answered every single question, addressed every single question. Have you learned Halakha? Yes, I have learned Halakha. I grew up modern Orthodox in Jerusalem. I know Halakha fairly well, on different topics more than other topics, likely, right? But I took a step back from strict Halakha, something like, give or take 12, 15 years ago or so. But yes, I have learned Halakha. I've kept strict Halakha for a long time, and now I took a step back, but for most of my life, I kept very strict rabbinic law. Seek help, drunkard. Well, I'm not a drunkard, Machiavelli. I haven't had any alcohol in about 15 years. So I'm not a drunkard. I am drunk on Torah, I'll tell you that. How about Hasidism? Yes, I am not a Hasid, but I've studied Hasidism. I've learned with Hasids. I'm a fan of Chabad to some degree. I'm a fan of Breslev to some degree. And the old school Besht and Magid bin Mezerich teachings are very moving and very stirring, and I'm a fan of those as well. So Hasidism is Hasidism speaks a lot to me, right? Leit atar panui mineh. There is no place that is devoid of him. God's influence, God's revelations, God's emanations penetrate all, and that's how I think about it. Yes, says Kiwi, the historical Jesus is truly astonishing, and thank you for being open to rereading the gospel. Yeah, look, it's the only part of the New Testament I think of ever going back to. The rest of it did not speak to me, and I saw how people started to warp the Torah after the time of Jesus, right, after he died, according to the New Testament. I still don't consider that to be a sacred text or a holy text because I don't set it apart. It's just a text, as far as I'm concerned. It has merit, it has wisdom, but as far as faith is concerned, it won't cause me to convert. I'm not interested in Christianity. There's no such thing as a God incarnate in the Hebrew faith. There's no such thing as a God incarnate in the Torah, and that's what and that's how I'm going to roll. Danny, Anita, are there prophecies about a Messiah who will come if the temple is rebuilt? So look, we don't need the temple, we don't need the Messiah. Both of those things are not necessary. However, they might definitely arrive. As for how it will come about, the temple first, the Messiah first, look, Maimonides very famously in his book Mishneh Torah, he says, if a person, a king, right, a person is anointed, and they rally the people and eradicate Amalek, and build the temple, that person is definitely considered to be a potential Messiah. However, there are so many different things. We are not supposed to test the anointed one. We are not supposed to test the king. We are supposed to accept his kingship, crown him, anoint him, and then there will be a king. Same thing with the temple. The temple is supposed to be built. I think it will be a vegan temple, a loving temple that everybody will show up at. Right now there's a mosque over the site of the second temple and its ruins, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. Some people, alternatively, think that the temple will fall from the sky completely built. I have no dog in that race. I think that the original temple, the original worship is the image of God, the human being, the soul, the body, our deeds, our dealings, our doings, and that we don't need animal sacrifices, and we don't need anything of the sort. I go back to Eden, and in Eden there was no temple, and in Eden there was no anointed one, and in Eden there was no king, there was no Israel and nations, there were no different doctrines, no different faiths, no different religions. It was just God, the revelation, right? Mankind and nature. That's what I'm saying. It's Blobby said, what happened in the Battle of Khaybar? So the Battle of Khaybar, as far as I know, is when many Jews were slaughtered when they would not accept the divinity of Muhammad or the teachings of Muhammad or Islam. I'm pretty sure that's what went down there, but I don't recall precisely. I have not studied Islam, I have not studied the Quran, I have not studied any of the hadiths, so I don't know. At some point I might, but I will have to come there from a very, very, very objective or more objective point of view than I have now. Right now my mind has been warped by decades of war, bloodshed, and terrorism, so I can't possibly approach Islam or its texts with an open mind. Indeed, we do not need any more sacrifices, right? We just need to be good people. We need to make, we need to make peace. We need to solve problems, right? We need to come together. And eventually it will come to the point where we will once again be one unified human race back in Eden, partaking of the fruit of the tree of life. However, we're not there yet. As for a temple and a Messiah, those things are welcome if they show up, because it means that we will merit them. If a temple is built and a king is anointed, it means that we have progressed to such a degree that we are able to actually reach a consensus about the nature of the Messiah, right? And crown a king, a physical king of Israel once again, and build a temple once again, a vegan one, hopefully. We need sacrifices. Look at our walled, I'm assuming you wanted to say world, Stark. Do you like Jerusalem? I am living in Jerusalem as we speak. I am looking at Jerusalem right outside my window. But as for the sacrifices, yes, we need the sacrifices of ourselves. Our life is the sacrifice. We sacrifice our time, we sacrifice our money, we sacrifice our attention, we devote our lives to Torah and to commandments and to being good people. That is the sacrifice, right? Prayer, meditation, tzedakah, charity. Those are sacrifices. Slaughtering animals, I don't think is necessary, right? Vegetarian offerings, I don't think are necessary. God does not need them. God does not need any of it, right? It's us who are changed by the act of physical worship and atonement and sacrifice. And so there are other ways of doing it. Also, you say, look at our world, and I say, look at Eden. Right? In Eden, we had none of that stuff. Now, I'm definitely of the opinion that you can't simply insert Eden into this world 100% as an absolute, because we're not there anymore. We were cast out. We are now in a world of knowledge of good and evil. However, you can insert elements of Eden into your life and into the world. One of the things that I am saying, which may or may not come to pass, is that we might come to the time, right, in place where we won't need a king, we won't need a temple, we won't need the garments, we won't need this building, we won't need the precious metals and stones, we won't need the ritual worship. We will be able to have that worship happen organically, internally, right? God will pour his spirit upon all flesh, as it says in the book of Yoel. And that's pretty much what I'm thinking of. You need a haircut, says John Wigren. Likely I do, however, the Nazarite vow precludes me from participating in the ritual haircut. Do you have a little hat perchance, card collector? No, I don't. I don't wear a yarmulke or a kippah or a Jew hat or a skull cap or a head covering, because the head covering of a Nazarite is his hair. That is the crown of separation. It's a crown of consecration, and the Nazarite does not wear anything on his or her head. Now, people disagree with me, by the way, but this is something simply that I've found about my Nazariteship, and that's how I want to roll. Free Palestine, says South Men. Yes, I agree. Free Palestine from Hamas. Free Palestine from war and religious extremism and terrorism. Free Palestine from its oppressive government. Free Palestine from those warmongering freedom fighters who put their own population in front of them in order for them to be slaughtered so they can cry victim and get so many billions of dollars in aid and then invest it in more terrorism. Yes, free Hamas from free Palestine from all of that. Hamas needs to get the hell out of there. We can build bridges towards peace. We can find common ground. We can make it happen if people have the balls to remove Hamas from the government. All of those terrorist groups, that's a problem. He's faking. Wait, hang on a second. Oh, the chat is moving really quickly. I don't know what's going on here, man. I don't know what's going on. He's faking being Jewish, says Captain Spencer. Well, let's see. Grew up in Jerusalem, religious Orthodox, born to 2 Jewish parents, went to Yeshiva, served in the army, took a Nazarites vow. Where is the fakery here? But okay, I'm fake. Cool. Okay. Let's see. Wow. The chat is moving so quickly. Okay. It's good that you know the propaganda ruined your critical thinking. Oh, definitely. By the time it reaches my eyes and my ears, it's all propaganda. By the time I'm reading it or seeing it or hearing it, it's all propaganda. All of it. It's all hasbara. It's all propaganda. It's all engineering my consciousness to think a certain way and to act a certain way and to parrot certain things, that's for sure. On the other hand, I am able to discern, at least to some degree, and have some modicum of critical thinking that I already A, know that, and B, I'm able to go a little deeper, also having lived here all my life and served in the army, the fact that I don't vote, the fact that I don't bow down to any political party or system, that already frees me at least to some degree because I can reach different topics objectively, right? That's why I don't buy into any of that left, right, center crap. All I say is, give me a scenario, give me a situation, tell me the details, I'll give you my opinion. That's it. I'm not left, right, center, or anything else. You can't fake that nose, he's legit, says Sam. Right on. The Jewish schnoz tells all. Are you homeless, says Makapaka. I love the name, by the way. No, I have a lovely home to come home to. I always have. It's amazing. I have such a blessed and bountiful life that some people throughout history could only dream about. And I'm very thankful. I don't take it for granted that I can sit here with you on this lovely Sunday morning. The sun is shining on Jerusalem and I have a cup of coffee. And this is what I get to do right now. And later, sure, I'll get to do my day job. I'm working from home today. But for now, I'm here with you. It is no small thing. I also don't take it for granted that you good people are taking time out of your day, out of your weekend, out of your busy life to listen to my rants, raves, and rambles. It's deeply appreciated, your time and your kind attention, the likes, the subs, the views, the lovers, the haters, etc., etc. It's very, very cool that I get to do this, and I'm very happy you're here with me. You look so evil, says Belize Voyage. Are you going to voyage to Belize? Yes, I am definitely evil. See? Evil. Yeah. Can I ask why the dread look? Well, I'm a Nazarite. The Nazarite grows his or her hair wildly, and that's what happens when you just grow your hair. It just grows like that. If you put down your brush, if you put down your comb, if you put down the hair conditioner for some time, your hair will lock up organically. That's what this is. Organic, freeform, Nazarite dreadlocks. That's all that it is. How do you feel about Iranian people? Cyrus the Great is revered as God's agent. Yes, Cyrus is called the Anointed One. Cyrus is called Messiah. That should give you an idea of Messiah. So yes, definitely. The Iranian people that I know here, Iranian Jews, are lovely. I love the cooking. I'm vegan, so I don't partake of some of it, but I love some of the cooking. And as for the Iranian people at large, from what I've gathered, before the Islamic Revolution, right before the coup, they were a lot more open, a lot more liberal, a lot more democratic, a lot more secular, for better or worse. And it seems that a lot of people in Iran still want that sort of life, and maybe they ought to throw their government over at some point. Far be it from me to know how that will happen, how it should come to pass, how it will go down, but I know that it can happen. If you have a critical mass of people, and you have a religious minority who's in control, you can still make it happen. The people have the power. It's just about the circumstances aligning to such a degree in such a way that you'll be able to make that coup, so to speak, and make it happen. But I know that it was something when the Shah took over, when the Shah was overthrown. I heard it was very, very bad, very bad. So we'll see. People are executed there. People are. How do you feel about Palestine for the billionth time, Doug Chen? I think that there is no such thing as a people of Palestine or a land of Palestine, right? Rome gave this region the land. However, there are people here, humans like you and I, so get rid of the extremist religious element and we can make peace. But as long as we are surrounded by people who want to destroy us or convert us, and there's no two ways about it, then we're going to be fighting, right? Because we have this instinct, this stupid instincts of self-preservation. And so it's really, really important for us, for some stupid reason, to stay alive. Who knew? So yes, if you come at us and you want to destroy us, then you will be destroyed. And if you want to actually make peace, Israel is welcoming peace. This has been this way from the beginning. However, it seems that the people around us, and look, we made peace with Jordan, we made peace with Egypt because of war. Peace is made between enemies in this region. It's not like we're buddies and you go, hey, let's have a peace agreement. No, it happens with power, and it happens with, unfortunately, with a lot of tragedy, a lot of bloodshed. Too bad. Too bad. It really is too bad. I recently found out my mother is a Huguenot Jew. Can you tell me what that means? Tammy O'Cutie. I don't know what Huguenot Jew means, so I can't tell you. I'm sorry. You're full of propaganda, says Seti. Yes, definitely I'm full of propaganda. You don't have to believe me. I'm just here addressing questions. I don't say you need to think like me. I don't say you need to listen to me. I don't say you need to act like me or be like me, or I don't have any great wisdom or knowledge. I don't have any truth. All right? We're just talking here. This is all this is. Do you believe Jesus rose from the dead, says Luca. I believe that it's possible that he rose from the dead. It still doesn't make him a son of God. A few different people rose from the dead. A couple of different people, Hanoch and Eliyahu, did not even die, according to the Hebrew Bible, which means that I can believe that someone rose from the dead and still think that he was just a guy and not a son of God. We are all sons and daughters of God, and in that sense, we're made in the image of God. We're human beings. Okay, let's continue here. Why does Judaism seem to actively oppose discouraged converts? You know what? It wasn't always like this, but no, we don't proselytize, and we reject converts. At least the Orthodox tradition rejects converts initially, a few times, according to custom, because A, we want to make sure that you are truly all in. We want to make sure that you are truly into it and will go by the commandments and the covenant, because it's not an easy thing to be Jewish. You're a persecuted minority, tons of commandments. Some people, would say that's not a life to live. You can't have bacon. Are you kidding me? However, it is a very deep and rich and amazing Torah, and the commandments that we have, it guides us in a very special and unique way, unique to the Hebrew people. So we do discourage converts, but it has not necessarily always been like that, and it won't always be like that. And you'll find sects and groups within Judaism that are a lot more accepting. You'll find Orthodox people rabbis who will make it a 10-year process and charge you hundreds and thousands of dollars. You could find people who will do it in 5 minutes too, right? Snip, immerse in a mikveh, and that's it. You're a Jew. If you accept the covenant in your heart and the yoke of the Torah and the commandments, you're de facto a Jew right then and there. You know what I mean? After the mikveh, after the pool. So we do discourage converts. We just want to do our own thing. We don't want everybody to be Jewish. We don't need everybody to be Jewish. We don't want to make everyone follow our faith and our religion. Right? It's written a few times in the Torah and in the prophets. Those people have their ways, you have your ways. Don't make their ways your ways. Don't worship foreign gods. Don't worship the Hebrew God in foreign ways. Right? Stick to your own. And that whole stick to your own thing means that we are not as encouraging of converts. Opinions on Moloch, says Aaron. Moloch, as far as I know, is a foreign god, and as a foreign god or foreign deity, we are discouraged from worshiping Molech. And it says so in the Torah, right, that we should not worship the Moloch, we should not give our children to the Moloch, we should not give our seed to the Molech. So opinions, I've never worshipped Molech, and I don't think I will anytime soon, because that is pagan worship, and Jews do not worship pagan gods or worship the Hebrew God in pagan ways. But that's my opinion. However, I do know that there was a time when pagan worship and pagan deities were very much in vogue, and it could be that were I around at the time, I would not have been able to stop myself. The inclination towards pagan worship would have been too strong, and then maybe I would have worshipped Molech. It's this idea, right, of that religious ecstasy. And we kind of lost it to some degree, right? Without a temple, without a king, without Sanhedrin, without a priesthood, there are many elements that we lost. What we have gained, though, is as a result of the diaspora and the exile and the constriction of the Hebrew faith, even though it was driven into survival mode, right? What we got is this opening that's happening now, like an hourglass, right? Where we had the big Jewish, way, the big Hebrew faith, constricted, more exile, more destruction, more woe, 2 temples, and then now it's opening up once again. And this part of it that's opening up now, and that has begun, you can say, ever since like the Renaissance, right? And the Lurianic Kabbalah and all that, Hasidism, the Baal Shem Tov. We are living in an amazing time, simply unbelievable time to be a Hebrew person, to be any person likely, right? But as far as the Hebrew people are concerned, for the past few hundred years, things have really been picking up, and it's an unbelievable thing to witness here in Jerusalem happen in real time. I truly don't take it for granted. Do you worship Gadriel? I don't know what Gadriel is, or Gadril, Andre. I'm so sorry. I really don't know what that is. Also, listen, a lot of people here in the chat. At some point, I might not be able to control what's going on here. I might need to introduce mods. I don't know. I don't want to. This has always been a free platform, a free live stream, free speech. I don't ban anyone. I don't kick anybody out. I don't censor anybody. I have zero moderation here. For better or worse, this is the way that it goes. Matisyahu done fell off. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Looking up says, well, I'm not Matisyahu. I am relatively clean. I know I look dirty, but trust me, I'm fairly clean. Looks can be deceiving. Do you believe there is an afterlife? Dianita says. If so, describe what it will be like. So look, afterlife means, for me, after we partake of the fruit of the tree of life. Kindly do remember, the tree of life and its fruit was never forbidden, ever. It was only put under guard, meaning that we still need to make our way back there. Okay? We had the 6 days of creation, and then the creation of man, right? Of human beings. I believe in evolution and all of that. I'm talking about a human being with a soul, right? And then we had the sin, missing the mark, right? With eating of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. Nowhere does it say it was an apple, by the way. That's a common misconception. There are different opinions, 7 or 8 of them in the Gemara and the Zohar on what it was. One of them is grapes, speaking of the Nazarite ship. So basically, before we could enter into the Edenic Sabbath, we were kicked out. And that time between Friday afternoon and Saturday was stretched into the human history as we know it here. So we are on the way to the Edenic Sabbath. We are on the way to that place where we will be able to show up and partake of the fruit of the tree of life. That's truly what afterlife means. That's what resurrection means. It doesn't mean you know, like in Michael Jackson's Thriller, when you step out of your grave and you start dancing. It means when you partake of the fruit of the tree of life, and then it's not a duality of life as opposed to death, death as opposed to life. It means that death itself will be lifted out of creation, just like it came into creation in the creation story. So something like that. The afterlife is not something that happens after you die. The afterlife is something that happens after you live. Okay, let's keep going down in the chat. What is your opinion about protests in Iran? I don't know enough about it, KIA. I don't know enough about the protests in Iran. I think that if they need to overthrow their government, and that's what they think they need to do, that they need to fight the man, and it will be... I hope the people of the world will be able to help them out, because if the people don't want to live under the religious oppression of the Islamic Republic leadership, then it needs to go. It needs to go. And that's the way it was before the 70s. When was the revolution? Late 70s, early 80s? I'm losing my my dates here right now. Do you take shower? Yes, I do. I shower regularly, but thank you for asking. In your opinion, can a country belong to a religion? Good question, Basket Forever. Can a country belong to a religion? I mean, history says yes. Even modern, current, even currently, I'm saying yes. But belong to a religion? What does it mean to belong to a religion? Does it mean banning all other religions? I mean, there are some Muslim countries where if you're not Muslim, then, certain things happen to you. I mean, we see this in the, let's put it this way. Can a country belong to a religion? Can a country belong to a religion? It's a good question. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm inclined to say yes and no but. That's what I'm inclined to say. Because, we have this idea of, you wouldn't tell Japan to stop being Japanese, you wouldn't tell Italy to stop being Italian, you wouldn't tell Iceland to stop being Icelandic. In the very same way, you don't tell the Jewish nation to stop being Jewish. And Judaism is a people, the Jewish people, right, it's a faith, Israel is a faith, Israel is a culture, Israel is a nation, Israel is a religion. It's a lot of different things all rolled up into one. So if you're asking in the sense of does Israel belong to Jews, if that's what you're sort of getting at, right? The land belongs to the Creator. Creation belongs to the Creator. The land belongs to the one who created it and not to any specific people or nation. However, there is a divine revelation here in this world which took it from one and gave it to the other, right? Wars and conquest have been part and parcel of this land for many, 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 many millennia. And that's the way that it goes. And that's the only way that it goes. Eventually we will have peace. Eventually we'll have peace. But until then, unfortunately, this is the way that it goes down. This is how it's happening. So I think that Israel belongs to the Israelis, but you can be an Israeli and you don't have to be Jewish, right? That's part of what I'm saying here. Okay. Religion of Islam summed up. When any of you goes to the gait, toilet, to defecate, let him take with him 3 stones and clean himself with that, for that will suffice him. Oh wait, is that where the 3 seashells come from in Demolition Man? You're blowing my mind here, Broseph. God made seraphim. You're blowing my mind right now. So wait, where is this from? Where is this from? Incidentally, in Halakha, we have ways of going to the bathroom. We have the preferred hand of wiping, okay? People who are right-handed put their tefillin on the left, their phylacteries, so you're not supposed to use the middle finger of the left hand, and probably not the left hand at all, in order to wipe. I don't wear tefillin anymore, but... my wife just told me earlier, you have this mannerism where you giggle after you talk. I said, really? She said, yeah, pay attention to it. So I just caught myself giggling. I did it again. Bro, you look like... See, I'm reading sort of comments, and that's what makes me giggle. Bro, why you look like a homeless Rasta Jew? ABB asks. I'm a Hebrew Nazarite, so... the Rastas base their dreadlocks and part of their Ital ways on the vow of the Nazariteship. So the Hebrews and the Rastas do have a connection. Rastafari also claim to be the descendants of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. So there's the connection there too. And a Jew, because I'm living in Jerusalem and I'm part of the remnants of the kingdom of Judah. And homeless, because some people see dreadlocks and they think homeless. That is why I look like a homeless Rasta Jew. What is your excuse? Laugh, demon. Oh, I do laugh. I laugh a lot. I laugh all the time. I mean, laughing is good. Humor is good, right? Jews know that better than anybody. Sarah cookies. What kind of cookies, Sarah? Sarah Lee cookies? Are any of those vegan? I wonder. She says, what colonization? Okay, you can't be a colonizer in your own land. Do you know that colony means like a daughter state that has a mother state? But Judah and Judea and the Jews, you see the connection there? Even you call them Yahud. Yahud means Yehuda. Yehuda is the name of the tribe. Yehuda is the name of the kingdom. Yehuda is the name of the region. So where exactly is it that we are supposed to go home to? This is our home. Obviously, there are other people here. We need to treat them with respect. We need to make peace with them. We need to live alongside them. That is the way of the Torah, right? Nobody's here to take over anything in the sense of that it's Jewish only. But to say that we are colonizers is just about one of the dumbest things you can say to a Jew from Judea living right here in Jerusalem. But okay. It's so much fun. It's so much fun engaging with you people, even though I find myself having to say, oh, the same things over and over and over again. What are you going to do? Some people, myself included, are very ignorant. So if you're ignorant, open up a book, okay? Read some history. Try to do it, right? Facts don't care about your feelings. I'm willing to admit Israel makes mistakes. I'm willing to admit the army makes mistakes. I'm willing to admit the government and the establishment make mistakes. Maybe you can admit, oh, people out there, that you're being anti-Semitic and that you're hating Jews on general principle. Maybe admit that you're racist. Maybe admit that you're a bigot. Maybe admit that even if we would be precisely what you want, as long as we're not Muslim, you simply will not have it. Convert or die. Live by the sword. Die by the sword. That is the way of Islam in this region. It's not Islam globally. Some would say that's not true. I don't know. In this region, it's definitely, that is the way. Dar al-Harb, Dar al-Islam. That's all that there is. Free the world. Right on, right on. Free the world indeed. Damn right. Okay, let's continue. Wow, you know what? The chat is moving so quickly, I can't make head or tail of it. Your country has just spawned 3. All right, I don't know what that means. It's probably doing, pertaining to something that happened there. Do you kill animals for the remission of sin? No, I'm vegan. I don't kill animals at all unless they attack me, or are infesting my home. Nathan, I do not kill animals for the remission of sin. I'm pretty sure that the third temple will be vegan. It's what I'm hoping. It's what I'm shooting for. And I'm of the opinion, as I said recently, that you don't even need a temple. You could bypass that whole thing of ritual worship by simply being, right, manifesting that image of God that you are created in fullness, in wholeness. And that will be, then you'll be able to have everything without a temple and without sacrifices, vegetarian and animal alike. The blood being, there's no such thing as Palestine, says Andy Bear. That is correct. The name was given to us by Rome, to the region, rather, by Rome. But there are people here. It doesn't matter if you call them Palestinians or googly people. It doesn't matter. They're still people, and we need to make peace with them. We truly need to make peace with them. Are you a Jew or Zionist? I am a Zionist, definitely, and a Jew. So, yeah. There is, people ask me that all the time. I honestly don't get what the mix-up is. Take a drink out of your cup. I will. I have a cup of black coffee here. Oh, I asked earlier, how do you people take your coffee? I've taken it just black, straight up black for years. Idiot, you can do a DNA check and see that you're from another side of the world. You don't even know your history. Okay, again, I'm not sure if you were talking about someone else or to me, but I was born here in Israel, so... Oh, and here's a question. Where were you born? So, yes. Allah is great, says ASMR live feed. Is there indeed an ASMR live feed there? Maybe. Check it out, people. Check it out. Let me know. Just blackout cold coffee. Yeah, that's right, it is. Black cold coffee. That's what I have. Are you in own home? Yes, I am. I'm in my own home right now, broadcasting you live from Zion. Is a Jewish life worth more than a non-Jewish life? No, Max Goldsmith. It is not. We're just human beings. There are different opinions in the oral traditions about this or that, and, I don't buy any of that crap. I think human beings were made in the image of God. Back in Eden, there was no Jews and Gentiles, no Yehudim and no Goyim, as it says, and none of that. And that's where I go back to more than anything. I go back to Eden. And feel free to think that Jews are better than other people. If you are going to think that there is such a thing as chosen people and that Jews are better than everybody else, then the onus is on you, and it's incumbent on you to prove that. Otherwise, it's just complete virtue signaling and an absolute, shit pile. God makes you shit and take your life, says Sarah. Yes, I agree. God makes me shit and God makes me take my life. Yes, I'm inclined to agree. Yep, it's true. Because I'm a biological being, and at some point I'll have to shit, and at some point my body will break down and die. So yes, God makes all of those things. Thank you for pointing that out, Sarah Cookies. For somebody named Sarah Cookies, you're not that pleasant. People asking why they killing children, as if Hamas didn't chop people's heads off. I mean, seriously, grow the hell up and be civil, says Zuzu Puppy Vids. Puppy Vids? What kind of puppy, Zuzu? Also, Zuzu, that reminds me of Avatar The Last Airbender, right? Zuko was called Zuzu by Azula. Yes, indeed. Why we are killing children is because Hamas deliberately puts non-combatants and innocent lives, men, women, children, puppies, in the line of fire in order for them to die so they can then be used as propaganda to gain more sympathy and more dollars in aid and humanitarian aid, which they will steal and inflate the price of and sell on the black market, and they will use all the billions of dollars in aid to fund, the tunnels for their terrorist friends and compatriots, and, buy more munitions and train more people so they can continue their religious war based on their will of Allah. And the will of Allah is that all of the Yahud either become Muslim or die. This is what they say, this is what they do. And they will not stop until we are all dead and until the entire region is Muslim. And I don't feel like becoming Muslim right now, so unfortunately they will have to get their asses handed to them time and time and time again. Hopefully the world will be able to actually support Israel, who is against terrorism, rather than support the terrorists that would behead the very people who claim to support them at the drop of a hat. So yeah. Why stop wearing tefillin, says Aris Schwartz. Well, Ari, I wore tefillin for many years, and at some point, a few years into my Nazarite vow, I understood internally, and then I found out that there's an asmachta to it halachically, that the Nazarite is not supposed to wear tefillin in the very same way that we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos, in the very same way that we don't wear tefillin on the holidays and the festivals, in the very same way that we take off the tefillin before we do Musaf l'Rosh Chodesh. right? In the very same way that the time and the place and there's a covenant built in, there is a covenant built into the life of the Nazarite. And were I to put the leather and the straps on my head, it would be going against the crown of consecration that is on my head. That is why I stopped wearing tefillin. Years later, I met with the Nazarite Rabbi Yehoshua Friedman, who wrote the book Nazir Elohim here in the Old City, and he told me, yes, that is correct. What you found out intuitively within yourself is actually the case. Some Nazarites don't put on tefillin at all. Some Nazarites put it on all day. Now, tefillin initially is supposed to be worn all day because, right, it's a crown. However, now it's usually only worn during Shachris, the morning prayer, Shachrit. So, yes, that is why. You don't know shit about the will of Allah. Really? So you're saying that all of the people who are killing and maiming and who are yelling Allahu Akbar, that has nothing to do with it. God is greater, right? Our God is great. That has nothing to do with it. I think that I know a thing or two about the murdering people, who come in here terrorizing innocent folk. It's not even that they are attacking IDF bases. That I could go with. It's a war. Militants attacking militants. No problem there. You attack innocent civilians, women, men, children, and you say that it's the will of God. Also, if it's not the will of Allah, how come the Palestinian Authority and the different terrorist groups give out a stipend to the families of the shaheeds, the martyrs who killed Jews? The more Jews and Israelis you kill, the more money you're able to get. Why is that? I'd love to know what your answer is. Of course, I won't be able to read it because the chat is moving so quickly. But no, definitely. There is a lot. Now, I'm not a Muslim and I've never read the Quran. I know from people who do say that this is the will of Allah, that the entire world will become Muslim, the entire world living under Sharia, the entire world worshipping one God, right? In the way of the prophet, the final revelation, the final prophet. So I don't know anything about the will of Allah. You can talk to the people, to the murdering assholes, right, on the other side in Gaza. You can talk to them, or the people in the West Bank who also want to kill us, or, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, Iran, Yemen. We have peace, hopefully, right? We'll have a good peace with all of those regions, with all of those people. We desire peace, we want peace, we've extended our hand towards peace, and time again, the corrupt leadership and the corrupt religious leaders of these countries, of these nations, have gone against us and have rallied their people against us and have lost again and again and again. So maybe it's not the will of Allah that you win a war. But truly, Israel is one of the only countries that's not allowed to win a war. Istanbul says, I am a Jew following the Chabad stream of Judaism. Shavua tov to you. I have no problem with different opinions. How do you feel about Chabad? So the Chabadnikim that I've spoken to, I've really loved. Some Chabad teachings are very deep. It's one of the older Chassiduyot, right? One of the older Hasidic sects. We recently had Yat Kislev, right, which was good. How was your Yat Kislev, by the way, Istanbul? But I am not of the opinion that the Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson of Lubavitch was the Messiah. I'm of the opinion of he could have been the Messiah until he died. Same way I feel about Jesus. He was a potential Messiah, but then he died, and once he died, that's it. His reign is over. So I think there's a lot there. Also, Chabad follows the way of the Arizal, by and large, right? And we have Sidur HaArizal very famously, and I'm not a follower of Lurianic Kabbalah, but definitely there's a lot in Chabad. That whole idea of Leit Atar Panui Mineh in Hasidism at large is very, very amazing. And, right, Chabad is pushing the 7 Noahide laws. I don't know how I feel about that, but I know that they really do try. Also, I can't fault Chabad. I can't find anything wrong with them, like, globally. There's a Beit Chabad at every place. When I was in the army and I had no minyan, Beit Chabad used to show up, let's say on Purim, to read the Megillah. Beit Chabad and different Chabadnikim have done a lot over the years. So my opinion of them is that they are awesome, and some of them perhaps less so. That's it. It's the problem that I have. The problem that I have with Chabad is that they seem to be, on the one hand, very, very open, and on the other hand, very constricted. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's not really a problem. I think you need to tackle it on a case-by-case basis. I know why you dressed like a giraffe during Christmas, says Max. Yeah, I was Johnny Giraffe, and that was a fun live stream. That was a very fun live stream. Have you ever done any deconstruction work of Judaism, Zionism, or your other beliefs? Yes, Max, I have. In the past, and more in the past. because I reached a point, give or take 20 years ago, no, more than 20 years ago. I basically, was with God and talking in nature, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I am all in. I don't need any more proof. I don't need any more evidence. I don't need any more signs. I don't need anything. I'm with you all the way, all in, you and me. That's how it's going to go down. Now, as for the different specifications of religion and halakha and all that, those things fluctuate. But I have done deconstruction work of Judaism, of Zionism, and my other beliefs to the best of my ability, but I'm always learning. It's part of what I'm doing here. I love learning from you guys. I love being enlightened. I love being strengthened with gaining more knowledge. I love becoming a little less dumb and ignorant with every single live stream. It's part of what I love about this. It's why it's a Q&A, right? You teach me, I teach you, teach. I regurgitate a lot of different things, you could say, but, sometimes, occasionally, I'll put my own spin on it. You don't learn, says BK. Okay, I don't learn. You are a Ronin indeed. Well, let's put it this way. I definitely do learn, and I know this because I've been doing this live stream for a long time, and there are things that I learned about other paths and other ways that I would not have otherwise been privy to, or not have otherwise, I would not have necessarily put forth the questions, but people come and they say, hey, what about this? What about that? And I say, I don't know, I'm ignorant. Teach me, tell me, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? So I definitely do learn. Now, if you're saying you don't learn because you don't accept Jesus or something, then no, I'm not going to learn that anytime soon. Kerr, hey, Kerr is here. Hey, Kerr Creatives, my fucking man, I love you, brother. Much love from Zion to all you people out there, Kerr Creatives included. Why is your hair so messy and long, No Lux? Because of you, No Lux. Are you happy? That's why, because of you. Now that you're here, finally I'll be able to cut it. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for 15 years for you to show up. Thank you, finally, this guy. Unbelievable. Okay. Why Bibi gave billions to Hamas? CNAV13 asks. Well, in my understanding, the reason why Israel was transferring money to Hamas, be it Qatari money or be it their local Palestinian money that was collected by Israel and given to them, or be it some other source that I don't know of, is because they were under the misconception that if you give Hamas the money, and if they are able to raise their population out of poverty, and able to build infrastructure and better their education and better their systems and make a life for those people out there who are suffering, and not by the hands of Israel, mind you, by the hands of their own government, maybe then they will be able to forsake, maybe when their quality of life is raised up, then they will be able to forsake their ways of war and terrorism. But that was a mistake, because the misconception was that this was something that can be rectified or remedied materialistically. But this is a religious war. It's a spiritual war. It's an ideological war. And you can't fight an ideology with money. That's it. You can't. And we're finding that out yet again. Lies, lies, lies. Okay, Belize, where are the lies? Please do tell me. You think that it is not a religious and spiritual and ideological war? Israel ethnically cleansed Ethiopian Jews because the Polish immigrants hate black people, says Seti. A, where's your evidence of that? B, I am very fond of Beta Israel and Ethiopian Jews. C, what I will say is that when the Ethiopian Jews did show up, they were done wrong by the government. On that we are agreed. They were done wrong by the Rabbinate, the Orthodox, people here, the Rabbinate. On that we are agreed. That it should not have been done. Ethnically cleansed? I have no idea what you're talking about. That is probably crap, but give me your evidence. Leave it in a comment, because I won't see it in the chat likely. Leave a comment, let me know. Incidentally, Hebrew Nazarite across the board. Look for my tree, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, here, maybe one other place. I don't post much anywhere else, but I am in the DMs, and that's why I keep those accounts. So if you want to hit me up with any evidence of anything, or call me a kike, or say that I'm a roach, or laugh at me, in a different way, by all means do it. Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree. What is your... whoa, I'm sorry. It just keeps jumping. The chat just keeps jumping. Okay, let's continue. Are you familiar with Gnosticism or Hemetericism? Wojo collects. Well, Gnosticism is the idea that it's not is and it's not isn't, right? It's neither here nor there, right? Agnostics, as far as I know. As for Hermeticism, I don't know. I know that there is such a thing as Hermetic Kabbalah, and I from what I've gathered, it is not a kosher form of Hebrew Kabbalah, but it does take Kabbalistic elements and liturgy, let's say texts and jargon, and makes something else completely out of it. That's all I know about it. So no, I am not familiar with either one of them, really. So I don't know. John says, your God says you can kill children and women in a war, so your enemies will be 100% destroyed. Yes, that is correct. When there was a war of conquest, right? When there was a war of conquest, when Joshua crossed the land and 13 or 14 years of war against the 7 nations here, everyone was destroyed, or nearly everyone was destroyed. And we can see this play out in the book of Joshua. However, we do say that when you are in a war, you should not be destroying. But wait, I'll read the verse just in case I am wrong. Just in case I'm wrong. Samuel 15:3. Samuel 15:3. Yes, that speaks of Amalek. So when it comes to Amalek, it's true. You do need to destroy them all. However, that's not in any war. That is a specific war with a specific nation that we have a kind of beef with, an ongoing thing. And furthermore, nowadays, we don't know who the Amalekites are. And so it's moot. It's a moot point from the beginning. But I do feel you. I know what you're saying. It's very easy to take a verse and say that that particular war pertains to all wars. However, it's against you, right? The Torah itself is against you because that pertains particularly to Amalek. And it's not only women and children. You're supposed to destroy the Amalek men, women, children, babies, toddlers, and you're supposed to destroy their cattle. You're supposed to destroy all of their livestock, everything. Hopefully that won't come to pass. Hopefully we won't need to do that because it says that you need to destroy the memory of Amalek from under the heavens, from under the sky. But above, at the root of everything, right, there is no good and evil. There is no right and wrong. There is no left and right. The duality does not exist. So above the sky, so to speak, there is no need to destroy Amalek. And we are eventually, with our dealings and doings here, we are supposed to draw in those higher emanations, those higher revelations into creation and bring that place that is above the sky down here. And in doing so, go back to the root. You see what I'm saying? Because we have the tree of life starting off at a root and ending up lower, which becomes another root. When it flips over, it's a whole thing. I won't get into it. But yes, if you have Amalekite men, women, and children, and cattle and livestock, you are supposed to kill them all. But we don't know who the Amalekites are, so it's a moot point. But I do thank you for bringing it up, John. I do indeed. BK says, no, you share lies and bring up nonsense and fairy tales and propaganda. Bring me up and expose your whole mindset and religion include. I'm from Persian Iran. Okay. Lies and nonsense, fairy tales, propaganda, you'll expose my mindset and religion included. How presumptuous of you, BK. You think you can do all of this, do you? Okay. All right, hit me up. We'll have the dialogue. Hit me up. Hit me up in the DMs on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or here, leave a comment, and we'll make it happen. I'm not a debater. I just like the discourse. I like engaging. I like having discussions. I am not a debater. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. I'm not here to say that I know something that you guys don't. Not in the least. Not at all. I'm just one simple dumbass in the Middle East. And yet these folks over here, they come at me like I don't know what, because they're projecting all of their bile and all of their hatred and all of their hatred of humanity at large that isn't them. They are so full of hate, so full of malice, it seems, that they are so interested in everyone being just like them, and everybody who thinks otherwise, other than them, is completely wrong. And everything that I'm saying is nonsense, even though I back it up historically. I back it up with any text that you want, really, right? So I don't quite know what you're talking about there. I think it's just really easy for you to say, oh, he's a Jew? Well, then he must be wrong. Because people hate Jews, that's the way it is, but it sucks for you because I'm right here, you're the one who's watching. If you don't like it, you don't have to like me, you don't have to listen to me, I can get off your feed, it's just one swipe up and leave, that's all. But it pains you, doesn't it? It truly hurts you, it irks you that the people of Israel are still here, because that probably means that if you're convinced that Muhammad was the final revelation, and the Quran is the final revelation, and that the Islam is the final faith, that is the covenant that replaced Christianity, that replaced Judaism, that was the remnant of the kingdom of Judah, and that the covenant between God and Israel was broken, It really is a pain in your ass. It burns your ass that I'm sitting here in Jerusalem with my cup of coffee. It burns your ass. You really simply cannot take it. You can't. Now, that's a problem. It's a big, big problem. And so, of course, you're saying that I'm spouting lies and propaganda and fairy tales and all that stuff. Where? What have I said? Show me what is a lie. Show me what is a fairy tale. And you know what? Let's grant that proposition. Let's say that you're right. Let's say what I've said many times, that the entire Hebrew Bible as an absolute, categorically, is a lie and is mysticism of the lowest degree and is all myth and fairy tale and propaganda. The question is still, now what? Now what? I have this book. I have the history. I've learned some history in my life. I've lived here all of my life, pretty much. So everything is against you in this sense. And yet you are so convinced in your self-righteousness, you are so convinced that you are right and that I'm the one who is wrong. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, mind you. I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong. I'm saying look it up. I know that you're exceedingly, right, just convinced of you being right. By all means, keep thinking that you're right. It's all good. It really is. I know your past. I know your past, he says, and Esther. I know your old days and even how you people started the religion of lies from Abraham. Okay, BK, Abraham believed in one God. I believe in one God. That's pretty much where it is. Let's see. What brought you to the conclusion that you think Zionism is right, says Max Goldsmith. Well, Zionism is mentioned first in the Hebrew Bible, in the books of Moses, in the Torah, where it says that you will be kicked out when you break the covenant. But should you return to the covenant, you will be returned to your rightful place, which is the home of your ancestors. You will be cast out, right? Eventually you will be cast out. First there will be war and pestilence and all kinds of horrible things happen. You can read it, right, in the Torah. And then if you still don't get it, you'll get your ass kicked by your enemies. And then you will be slaves in foreign lands. And then at some point, even though a tiny percentage of you will be left, repent and you will be returned. Or returned and you will be returned and then you repent. The dry bones in Ezekiel, right? That whole thing. The body first, the spirit later. Or the spirit first, the body later, depending on how you go with it. So Zionism is simply the idea of us returning to our ancestral home. Returning to the covenant of Torah and commandments. That's what it's about, as far as I'm concerned. But I don't think that it's right as opposed to other things that are wrong. I simply think that this is the Hebrew path, this is the Hebrew way. Now, I also said this in the past. I am not such a staunch believer and blind follower of Zionism. I'll say this. If the people of the world, right, if the other nations will say, take a nation somewhere else, and we will never bother you again, ever. We will not lay a finger on you. We will not raise up arms against you ever again. Go live somewhere else and everybody will get off your back and leave you in peace. If that was the case, I would even be willing to relocate to somewhere else, leave Jerusalem with all my family, and go somewhere else, because eventually what the Hebrew people need to do is follow the Torah and follow the commandments and be good to each other, love their neighbor, love their God, love humanity. If we do that, like a ripple effect, the influence will grow as a direct consequence of that. And so it doesn't matter if we worship the Hebrew God in Israel or in any other nation. If we are left alone to our own devices, to do our own thing, by virtue of that, already we will get to that place eventually of God pouring his Spirit upon all flesh, and everybody will be able to receive God, right? And we won't have to ask each other, where is God? It will be clear as day. Which means that then we will be able to go back to being one unified human race with no borders and no religions and no faiths and no doctrines and no separations and no division, one human race like we were back in Eden. And that's the ultimate goal, right, what I'm shooting for there. Humanity phase 2, partaking of the fruit of the tree of life together, with no religions or faiths or tongues or cultures or wars to divide us. And so I'm saying Zionism is not such a thing for me that I'm willing to say, no, it's only here and only here. It's like, no. If the world would get off our backs and let us breathe, we might be able to do something even if it's in another country. I'm not disputing that, but it hasn't happened because the people love to hate Jews. Definitely love to hate Jews. Istanbul says, mostly agree, love Chabad, they have shown me my way. Do not personally believe the Rebbe is Mashiach. I would love to speak with you. Not a debate either, sorry for spamming. Hey, people are spamming here all the time. It's no skin off my schnoz. Let's share a coffee and talk filmmaking, brother. I will fly out. Wow, Kirk Creatives, that is really, really cool. So hey, get in touch with me. I would love to discuss filmmaking. I mean, look, I went to film school. I'm a trained screenwriter, as you remember, maybe. But I haven't had anything produced yet, and there's no guarantee that you will find anything of value in anything that I've written. I am a writer by trade and by day job. I love words. They are my play. They are my passion. They're my work. They're my hobby, right? Words. But there's no guarantee in anything, and I wouldn't want to disappoint you. But definitely, Kirk Creative, hit me up in the DMs. Get in touch with me. Hebrew Nazarite, look for my tree. But yeah, I'd love to make that happen. You probably can teach me a lot about filmmaking. You're a documentary filmmaker, you said. I could definitely learn a lot about that. For sure. Shame on you, says Raid Soliman. Yes, I am full of shame. I've found in my life that a certain degree of shame is very good for me. Guilt is 100% not good for me. I shun it out, I push it out. Shame is very good for me. Shame, for me, to some degree, is a transformative attribute, and it helps me to understand the error of my ways and to try and rectify them. But guilt only causes me to spiral down into sadness, and that pushes me further away from God, right? Because the Torah, the commandments, and God, the revelation of God, should be approached from a place of nachas, of happiness, right? Simcha shel mitzvah, the happiness of a mitzvah. And if I'm sad, and if I'm with negative vibrations and in a bad place, it's not good for me, it's not good for my family, it's not good for the Torah study that I would engage in. But shame is good for me. Shame is good for me, at least to some degree. Not like 100% shame breathing down my neck in my psyche all the time. No. But to some degree, because I wish to remain accountable, I wish to remain responsible, and part of that is knowing what to be ashamed of, right? It's like feeling shame to some degree, to each his own, is a good thing if it lights a fire under your ass and causes you to say, I could do better, I could be better, I am quite ashamed of the way that I have been doing X, Y, or Z. Let's see what I can do about it. In spite of all of my frailties and my faults and my insufficiencies and all the places where I am screwed up, I can still, as long as I'm drawing breath, I still have a job to do. I still have a mission to fulfill. I still have, as it says in the way of the superior man, I have a gift to give to the world. There's something that only I can give to the world. And shame truly helps me with that, and it might be able to help you with that. So don't knock shame. So that's what I think of shame on me. Yes, definitely shame on me. Rabbi has dreadlocks, Kim says. No, I'm not a rabbi, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a sage, I'm not an academic, I'm not a researcher, I'm not a knowledgeable, I'm not an educated man, I don't know anything about anything. I'm just one simple dumbass in the Middle East. That's all I'll ever be. No more, no less. Your God doesn't exist, Elohim. Yes, I agree. Elohim does not exist. What was a god from 100 other under summer and one of the smallest? You changed only names and places. Everything from your books is stolen and copy and paste. Again, I'm willing to agree. Let's grant that proposition. Let's say that everything in the Hebrew Bible is a copy, paste, stolen from others, names that were taken from the pantheon of, the Canaanite tribes. Okay, let's go with all of that. And now what? See, you seem to be thinking, BK, that you're engaging with all of these gotcha statements, but I'm agreeing with almost everything that you're saying, and still the question remains, now what? And you're not telling me that, right? You're just, oh, you're wrong, oh, you're this, oh, you're that. You keep casting these aspersions and accusations, right? You're levying these great stones of intellectual prowess against me, and yet you're giving no alternative other than what? What's the alternative? That you know better than me? Great. I'll admit freely that I am ignorant. There's a lot more of what I don't know than what I do know, and that's a given. I'll also agree with you on most of the things that you say about the Bible, because I don't know for a fact anything. Nothing is known. All I have is what I was dealt. That's what I'm playing with, the cards that I was dealt. So you seem to think that you've got all these gotcha moments or gotcha questions or gotcha statements, but you really are holding absolutely nothing, because I'm agreeing with you to a lot, on a lot of it. So yeah. Also, I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. One of the names through which he is revealed is Elohim, which is a plural of Eloha, right? The one God revealing in a name of plurality? How can that be? Yes, because God has many revelations. Elohim itself, right? It can be written Yod He Vav He, or it can be written Aleph Lamed He Yod Mem. That's a duality in and of itself. So once again, you think that you're coming at me with all of these superior statements or questions when in fact you have absolutely nothing. Sorry, guy. Really, I am. If you want to do this properly, again, I'm not a debater. I'm not interested in debating anyone. So you're debating with me. I'm not debating with you. So it's kind of one-sided here. You believe that we are animals and that you are superior, damn you. Really? When have I said that? I believe humanity is made in the image of God as such, and that Jews are no better than anybody else. There is no Jewish superiority, and if there is, then it's up to those Jews who claim superiority to actually live that out and prove it and manifest it and earn it. If you're going to wear this false crown, virtue signaling chosen people crap, then by all means, back it up with action. That's what I always say, which is why I don't claim that we are chosen. I claim that we are selected for a certain path, and all of the other nations were selected for a different path. We all have what to do in this life. We all are part of some root nation or another. We all have our job to do as individuals, as a nation, as a global, collective human race. Once again, people think that just because I'm a Hebrew man, that they already know everything about me, and sadly, sorely mistaken they are, indeed. So no, I don't believe that others are animals. Some Jews might believe that, I don't. I don't believe that I am superior. I believe that you need to walk this life with great humility. And I believe that humility is the key to all positive attributes and all good personality traits and all material, spiritual, metaphysical wealth. All of it comes from humility. Humility is knowing the right time and place, your right time and place. Humility is lowering yourself and not boasting. Humility is not being pride, not being arrogant, not being full of yourself. And I'll be the first to admit that I do have my wicked sides, my evil sides, my ignorant sides, my prideful sides, but I try and I make an earnest attempt to live out life with humility. So if it helps you, who was it? Kazakaz. If it helps you, I'll say it right here in front of a couple of hundred people who are watching right now. I am the most inferior person in the world. I am an animal. I am a human animal, no better than anybody else. I am an inferior species, no better, right? As a lone individual, part of a species, I am an inferior individual, part of an inferior species. If it makes you feel good, I just said it. Go ahead and clip it, send it out to all of the media outlets. Dumbass in the Middle East says they are inferior. I hope you have some good luck with that. You described your personalized practices like worship at home and not wearing a kippah as cherry-picking. What speaks to you, says Matthew, but you were full Orthodox, had a master. Can I trust my desire to refine early? Wow. That's a good question. Look, it took me a few years of in-between soul-searching, right? Between the time that I was thinking, hey, orthodoxy is doing things that I don't like, and orthodoxy is acting in ways that I don't align with, and the values that I'm seeing manifested, I'm being taught all kinds of things, but de facto I'm seeing other things, like on the ground, right? So what's up with that? It was a few years of soul-searching, of really, truly asking myself, am I simply doing this in order to rid myself of the burden, of the yoke of Torah and commandments, in the guise of some higher path, of some spiritual covenant? Is it just a bunch of crap that is there to give my evil inclination a way to have its way, all the while saying, oh no, I'm a Nazarite, whatever the hell that means? Your desire to refine early is quite understandable because the Orthodox, look, yes, I was fully Orthodox and I had a master. I had several masters over the years, whether it was in yeshiva or whether it was in high school. I still consider Rabbi Nachman and Rav Kook to be my dead masters, as it were. They may not agree with how I live my life, but they are still my masters, the dead masters. So I don't know if you can trust your desire. I think that it's something that is between you and yourself, you and the Most High God. I know that it took me a few years. It took me a few years of truly asking myself, what is it that I'm doing? Why am I doing it? Is it for the best reasons? Is it for the right reasons? Or is it just ego? And I took my time. I did. It took a few years. And eventually I came out of that dark tunnel, let's say, of questioning with, yes, I cannot ignore. I cannot ignore the truth of what is manifesting in front of me. I cannot ignore the call to the Nazariteship. I cannot ignore the call to condemning certain things that are going on in the Orthodox faith here. And it stems from exile and destruction, and this idea of a faith being in survival mode, a whole religion, an entire people. I don't want to survive. I want to thrive. I was not made to be stuck in my 4 cubits. I was made, we were made, human beings, to explore. We are curious creatures. We are explorative creatures. So I said to myself, I need to stay within certain boundaries. I need to stay within but I don't necessarily want to have a community. And this is part of the detriment of being under the Nazarite vow the way that I am, because it's a very lonely path in some ways. Though I've met with other Nazarites and I don't mind going into Orthodox shuls or whatnot, it's still something of a lonely path that I have set out to walk. Also, I'm not raising my children to be Nazarites, and I'm not raising my children to be religious. So I'm kind of leaving them in limbo with only the way that I'm living my life to show them, because I didn't want them to be raised in religious schools, and I did not send them to religious schools, even though I was. And they have no rabbi, even though I did, and I'm not teaching them. I'm teaching them Torah, but I'm not teaching them Halakha. Through the study of Torah, I do mention Halakha as it pertains to the various commandments when they come up, yes. And occasionally we will study the halachot of certain things, yes. But I don't tell them, here's what I wanted to avoid. And I know that I'm on tangent, but I'm on it. When I was growing up in Jerusalem, right, in a religious family, there were times when I felt that God is not pleased with me, that God is seriously angry with certain things that I am doing. God is angry with you, Yonatan. And I never want my children to feel that way at all. I want my children to feel the love of God, the awe of God, the fear of God in the positive sense, but not that God is disappointed with them, let's say, not that God is saddened by their actions, not that God is there, wagging his or her finger at them. I wanted them to come to a place of Torah and commandments organically, naturally, and this is what I'm trying to show them, not indoctrinate them. Simply by virtue of me living the way that I am living, they are already absorbing it by osmosis to a great degree. And we will have to wait and see. And I will pay the price, and I do pay the price for the choices that I make, but I could not ignore it. So how do you trust your desire to refine early is a question only you can answer. It took me a few years to come to the conclusion that I can even trust my intuition on it. So far be it from me to say how you can do it. I don't know. It's a very good question. It's a difficult question, and I hope that you find your path. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Ah, man, so much spam. I can't follow everything here. I can't follow anything here, my man. Okay. Do you think, says Max, do you think Zionism is then more about the people than the land? Yes, because Zionism has its origins in the books of Moses, and in the books of Moses it says, Ve'ata tashuv, when you return to yourself, to the commandments, to the covenant between you and God, by virtue of that you will be returned to the land. Or, like with the dry bones, right, the body will rise, the physical vessel will be established, and only then will the spiritual essence be poured into it. No matter where and how you look at it, you need to know who you are and what you're doing. You need to make tshuva. You need to return to the commandments and the covenant. This is what will ascertain, right, your coming back to the physical land. Ascertain, is that the right word? This is what will verify it, let's say. Why can't you brush your hair, says Dev Coffee? Because I don't use a brush, I don't use a comb. The Nazarite doesn't use any tools. The Nazarite can use his or her fingers, but not any kind of tools, because those are designed to rip out hairs. Yes. What is the significance in your religion? Well, the hair represents the crown growing up, right, growing out from the topmost part, from the inside, right? The priest has oil poured on his head. That's outside. The king has a crown put on his head. That's from the outside. The human being, the Jewish man or woman puts on tefillin, and that comes from the outside. But the Nazarite man or woman has the crown growing from the inside out, from the topmost point all the way down as low as it can go. And that is the significance of the hair. The hair represents the divine revelation of keter, or crown, which is this sort of, let's say it's a very, very high emanation, and we are supposed to emulate it here. The Nazarites are supposed to emulate it by letting the hair on their head grow wildly, organically, and not use a comb or a brush, not rip out hairs, not cut out hairs. We're just supposed to let it do its thing. That's the significance in a nutshell. No, he doesn't shower, says AJ Armin. I believe that I've mentioned many a time that I do shower, but it's nice to know that you guys are not listening. Banana Bunch said, Hi, Banana Bunch, a beautiful bunch of ripe banana. Daylight come and me one go home. Highly deadly black tarantula. Harry Belafonte, people, look him up. He will make your life better. What have you learned throughout your Nazarite journey, says Big Dick Pablo. First of all, congrats on the big dick. Hope it's not too big, because some women don't dig that. What have I learned? Live and let live. That's what I've learned. Live and let live. Be a good person. Love thy neighbor. Love thy God. That's what we need. We need peace and love in this world. That's it. I learned that way before the Nazarite journey, but definitely the Nazariteship has solidified this even more. So that's what I've learned. What is the difference between Orthodox Jews and the Nazarite Jews? Jews can be Nazarites no matter if they're Orthodox or conservative or Reform or Reconstructionist or I don't know what. If they're Jewish, they can be Nazarites. So there is no difference. Most of the Nazarites that I've met were actually Orthodox rabbis here in Jerusalem. So there is no difference. Nazarites are primarily Orthodox Jews who have also taken on a Nazarite's vow. That's all that it is. So these Orthodox Jews keep to orthodoxy, they keep Halakha, they keep Rabbinic law, and they also took on a vow of a Nazarite, be it a Samson Nazarite or the Numbers Nazariteship, either one. Have you heard of the Kabbalarian Society in Vancouver? No, Max, I have not heard about it. That's interesting. We both agree, says, oh, it just jumped. Oh, Astro says, we both agree God is most generous, merciful, and all these beautiful names. Now tell me, would God make you kill innocent children for the sake of wiping out a population, commandments or not? A certain revelation of God, right, is God is a man of war. Adonai ish milchama, Adonai shmo. Right, Yod Hei Vav Hei is a man of war. It doesn't say Elohim, it doesn't say Yah, it says Adonai, Yod Hei Vav Hei is a man of war. That's what we say at the Song on the Sea. So there is a divine revelation, right, that had wiped out the Egyptian and the Egyptian gods in the story of Exodus. In the very same way, what would make God kill innocent? Would God make you kill innocent children? I believe that if you're talking about the 7 nations and the conquest of Israel by Joshua and the Hebrew army, I would say yes, there was a divine revelation of some kind at the time that said to the people of Israel, wipe those people out. There is a higher divine revelation that is not in the duality of peace and war, one that is just love, right, at the root. And over there is no Jews and Gentiles, right? There's no nations and Israel. So would God make you kill innocent? A certain divine revelation definitely would, and that was what was revealed at the time to the children of Israel. I think that the way that it's brought about in the Torah is that those nations in the land of Canaan at the time had turned against their ways and their gods, and so the land was tossing them out, just like the land tossed us out so many years later. Several times we were thrown out of the Holy Land because of our doing. It was us who brought it upon ourselves. That's what happened. That's what we did. We went against the covenant. We broke the covenant. The covenant still exists even if we break it. Let's make that clear. It still exists and persists even if we break it, but certain things will have to happen in order for us to understand what happened, go back to doing our jobs, get our act together, and go back to the covenant, back to Torah, back to the commandments, back to the Hebrew way. And in that sense, yes, much like there is a divine revelation of evil, we live in a world of good and evil. We live in a world of right and wrong. We live in a world of a whole spectrum and dualities aplenty, yin and yang, masculine, feminine, however you want to look at it. I go back to Eden. The Edenic mindset is something that I connect with on a very personal and deep level, and yet I don't forget the fact that I'm living here in a physical world that is a world of knowledge of good and evil. And so if you want to see evil in the Torah, you'll see it. If you want to see evil in the Bible, you will see it. If you want to see good and benevolence and kindness and righteousness and peace and love and truth and justice there, you will see it there too. All of that exists along the Hebrew Bible, across all of the history of the Hebrew people. You'll find a lot of both of those things. The question to me always comes back to, and now what? What is it that I'm focusing on? What is it that I'm giving my attention to? What is it that I am aiming at? What is it that I am pursuing as an individual human being living here in the land? So I try to my best, I try to pursue that peace and justice and righteousness and benevolence. I try and stay away from the dark side of the force, right? Hate and suffering and all of that. Suffering is going to come either way, through love or through, we learn through love or through suffering. I'd rather learn through love than through suffering, but suffering is a part of life. There's no going against that. It's elevating the physical world, right? And making one, let's say, unifying the spiritual and the physical, that's part of what can help alleviate the suffering of the physical world. But as for would God make you kill innocent children? A certain revelation of God at a certain time would, but I don't think that's the right way to go. Definitely not now. Most of what exists in the Hebrew Bible, in the text, is what not to do. And this is also true according to the commandments themselves. 365 thou shalt nots versus 248 thou shalts. There's more what not to do than what to do. In the very same way, it's like that across the entire Bible. When I read the Bible, I learn a lot more about what not to do, how not to behave, what path not to take, and then that clarifies to me that much more what path I ought to take. In Sefer Yetzirah, right? Hatov mavchin et hara, hara mavchin et hatov. The evil discerns the good, and the good discerns the evil. So if you say, oh, you're evil, and the book is full of evil, and your history is full of evil, I say, okay, fair enough. That's how I'm learning what not to do. From history that's evil, from the books that have evil things in them, from the times when we wiped out entire populations in a war of conquest. I don't wish to do that anymore. It's not like I'm looking at that going, hey, that seems like a pretty good way to go about life. No, not in the least. I'm saying to myself that is the wrong way to go about things now. It may have been right at the time, but the divine revelation now, we are ready. We truly are ready, or we ought to be, we could be ready to receive that time of peace and justice, right? And there is no true peace without justice. I do truly believe that. Right? Ir HaTzedek, a city of justice. That's what the prophet says that Jerusalem will be called. Kirya Ne'emana, the faithful city. All right. It's been an hour and a half, so I need to get to work. I will see you again, God willing, tomorrow for another live stream. So listen, I deeply appreciate the likes, the subs, the views, the lovers, the haters, the ones in the chat. I'm sorry I couldn't get to every single chat. I'm sorry if you think that I was cherry picking. Whatever my eye goes to, I'll read that question. I try and tackle the hard questions and the easy questions alike. I don't pretend to know anything or do anything. I'm just addressing the questions as they come in. I'm not a rabbi. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a teacher. I'm not an educated man. I'm not a learned man. I'm not a sage or a prophet or a Kabbalist or any other label. You want to label me something? Label me Am Ha'aretz, a man of the land. That's all I am, a simple dumbass in the Middle East. This simple dumbass is going to finish this cup of coffee and start his day job. So I'll see you, God willing, tomorrow. Until then, be blessed, be a blessing to others, be the light in other people's lives. It will come back to you in spades. So until then, be good, and I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye from Jerusalem.